William Wordsworth. Born on 7 April 1770 and died on 23 April 1850, was an English Romantic poet, who, with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, helped to launch the Romantic Age in English literature, with their joint publication of Lyrical Ballads in 1798. Wordsworth was Britain's poet laureate from 1843 until his death. Wordsworth defines poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions, recollected in tranquility.
Introduction to the poem. The poet is troubled by insomnia. Though he offers no reason for his sleeplessness, it is evident that he is a troubled mind. He has not slept for the last 3 days. Tonight too is not different. He tries to recall many things that used to give him a peace of mind. Wordsworth, a professed romantic and nature lover, thinks of all the beautiful aspects in nature, to soothe his mind, and thereby invoke sleep. As usual with Wordsworth, it is a return to the lap of nature, when he is dejected, troubled and distracted, to find solace.
To sleep. A flock of sheep that leisurely pass by, one after one. The sound of rain, and bees murmuring. The fall of rivers, winds and seas. Smooth fields, white sheets of water, and pure sky. I have thought of all, by turns. And still I lie sleepless. And soon the small birds' melodies must hear, first uttered from my orchard trees, and the first cuckoo's melancholy cry. Even thus, last night, and 2 nights more, I lay, and could not win thee sleep by any stealth. So do not let me wear tonight away. Without thee, what is all the morning's wealth? Come, blessed barrier between day and day, dear mother of fresh thoughts and joyous health.
Analysis. In the first stanza, the poet describes a series of peaceful and idyllic scenes. He imagines a flock of sheep walking past one by one in a single file. He then hears the low patter of rainfall, and also the monotonous buzzing of bees. He imagines hearing the sound of a river as it falls from heights, the sound of the wind blowing gently, and the majestic, deep blue sea. He can see fields which have been plowed evenly. He can see water turning white as froth is produced on its surface, due to the great speed with which it is rushing forward. He can also see the clear, immaculate sky. In the second stanza, the poet says that he has thought about all the aspects of the serene environment, which he has described in the previous stanza, one by one, and yet he is not able to fall asleep. Hence, he must come up with more strategies to bring sleep to his eyes. He thinks that he will soon have to hear the melodious songs of the small birds that live among the trees in his orchard. He may even have to hear the cry of the cuckoo that makes one sad and reflective. In the third stanza, the poet reveals that all the strategies for courting sleep that he has described so far were applied by him, and yet he is sleepless. This had also been the situation faced by him 3 nights in a row. Next, the poet imagines sleep to be a human figure that he is playing a game with. He had been both silent and crafty, and yet he could not grasp a hold of sleep. Finally, he appeals to sleep to make sure that the present night is not wasted in the same way. In the final stanza, the poet respectfully tells sleep that morning does not have much value if one is not able to sleep the night before. He also appeals to sleep to come to him, for sleep is a blessed barrier which separates one day from the next, the one that gives birth to new thoughts and makes one feel healthy and fit. Sleep separates the darkness of night from the dawning of a new day. Moreover, it rejuvenates man after a hard day's work. For the poet, in particular, sleep is a restorative remedy. It supplies him with new ideas, which he can then work into beautiful verse.
To Sleep by John Keats. O soft embalmer of the still midnight, shutting, with careful fingers and benign, our gloom-pleased eyes, embowered from the light, and shaded in forgetfulness divine. Like Wordsworth, another greatest of romantic poets, John Keats, too has personified sleep, in his poem, of the same name. For Keats, sleep is an embalmer, with fingers, capable of shutting human eyes, and as someone with a key, which can lock troubling thoughts, inside the soul. Sleep is also endowed with life-saving properties, able to exclude the woes, which lurk at the bottom of consciousness. Poetic devices used in To Sleep. Rhyme scheme. Traditionally, the sonnet is a 14-line poem, written in iambic pentameter, which employ one of several rhyme schemes, and adhere to a tightly structured thematic organization. The first 8 lines are called octet, and the next 6 lines are called the sestet. Sonnets typically occur in 2 types of rhyme schemes. In the pattern ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE, known as the Petrarchan sonnet. Or in the pattern ABAB, CD-CD, EF-EF, GG, known as the Shakespearean sonnet. In To Sleep, neither of these patterns is followed in its entirety. The rhyme scheme of To Sleep is as follows: ABBA, ABBA, CDC, DCD. Thus it is not a typical sonnet. Transposed sentence. Poets often change the sequence of words in their lines in order to maintain the rhyme scheme chosen by them for that particular poem. In the second stanza, the poet uses the device of transposed sentence in lines 2 and 3 when he writes, I soon the small bird's melodies must hear, first uttered from my orchard trees. Instead of writing, I must soon hear the small bird's melodies, first uttered from my orchard trees, the latter being the more grammatically correct of the two. Apostrophe. This rhetorical device is used when a poet directly addresses the dead, an absent audience, or a personified idea. In the third stanza, the poet uses apostrophe in line 2 when he directly addresses sleep, saying that it has been eluding him for 3 nights, and asking it not to waste another night in the same way. Personification. Personification is a figure of speech which is used to bestow human qualities or traits on something that is inanimate and not human. In the third stanza, the poet uses personification with respect to sleep. He capitalizes the S in sleep, and imagines it to be a human figure, that he can converse with. In the fourth stanza too, sleep is personified. He imagines it to be a mother, giving birth, as it does to new thoughts, and providing refreshment, to one's health, as and when required. Oxymoron. An oxymoron is a figure of speech containing words that seem to contradict each other. Wordsworth's use of the phrase, blessed barrier, is an example of oxymoron. Usually, a barrier is a symbol of separation and discrimination. But, sleep is a barrier that is necessary and essential. It is in fact a blessing. More examples of oxymoron. Bittersweet. Act naturally. Clearly confused. Dark light. Deafening silence. Plastic glass. Growing smaller. Farewell reception. Only choice. Small crowd. The same difference. Walking Dead. Original copy. Sweet sorrow. Honest thief. Busy doing nothing.